RST, good morning. How are we doing today? Good. No one gets surprised I'm not speaking, but I have the distinct pleasure and honor of inviting one of my favorite people in the world to come and share a message with you today. His name is Steve Garcia. He has an awesome story. He's going to share it, but I just want to give a little background on his time here at Restoration. Steve came on staff about 1 year ago as a coach and as a pastor to the pastors on this staff, and we are so blessed by you, Steve. And I just want to continue to honor him. Steve has this supernatural gift of sitting with people just like Jesus did. He is there for all of our victories, celebrating with reckless abandon. He is also there, unflinchingly drawing us close and loving us in our heartbreak. He is the best person. I just think the world. I endorse him as a leader and as a pastor. And if you haven't had the chance to meet with him, I encourage you to connect with him after his message, set up a coffee. But I want to be really clear. His Tuesdays at 3 o'clock every week are booked because he sees me and I cry every single week. So would you go ahead and welcome Steve up on stage today?
That's so sweet. I have the gift of drinking coffee. I'm a coffee monk. And a merry mystic. So it is a joy to be with you this morning. I want to just thank Pastor Jason. Do we ever call him Pastor Jason? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. But our lead pastor, just in case you're visiting, Jason is on some well-deserved vacation time away. But I'm so grateful to him because really, without him reaching out to me a year ago, I'm not back in my pastoral world. And so I have kind of a restoration story. I have a faith story, all kinds of stories, and you do too. You have a story, right? You've been places, you've experienced things, you know things experientially that other people don't. And then there's some things that other people have been through that you just get, right? Because of how your life started out and that family of yours and that situation. But sometimes it can feel like I'm the only one. And someone has said, we read to know we're not alone. That's really why we read a story or watch a movie. There's some part of us that wants to know that somebody gets it, right? And so your story is super important. The teaching team said, Steve, take some time to let the folks get to know you because this is your first sermon. And, here we are. I grew up in a big, fat Mexican-American family in Los Angeles area. I was born in East LA. When I was a little boy, when I was an infant, my family moved 12 miles away to Whittier, made the Whittier leap, Whittier, California, and that's where I grew up. That's where all my family kind of still is. I go there 3 times a year. It's a pilgrimage for me because my little sister lives right up the block from the high school that I graduated from many years ago. And my auntie, my Aunt Lolly, shout out to Aunt Lolly and the Martells, when we moved out of the home that we moved into when I was an infant, my aunt and uncle bought the house. So when I visit my auntie, I can go into my bedroom that I grew up in. I can go to the house that I moved into when I was 10 months old. And there's something nostalgic about me. I kind of love to go places that stir up memories, but not all of them are good, are they? And I remember the day that my parents walked up the sidewalk, walked up the driveway, and I walked out. I ran out to them. My brother and I were fighting. My big brother, and he was chasing me, and I ran out. And my father said 4 words that changed my life, changed our family forever. He said, "Boys, Mercy passed away." And Mercy was my oldest sister. I'm 14 years old, and at age 22, Mercedes Garcia, Mercy, in the midst of a terrible asthma attack, which she suffered with. Her heart failed. And our family went into a tailspin. We just didn't have anything. We had no real faith. We went to church now and then. Our church had a sign at the door right by the holy water that said, "You are now late for Mass." Bro, in case you didn't know when to feel guilty, there it was right at the beginning. I don't know if that sign ever went away because we only ever came late. And if you were bringing 6 kids by yourself without your husband to even help you get them in the car, you might be a little late too. But anyway, all that to say, I didn't have Jesus yet. I do know that event set in motion something in my story that meant we all just acted out. We all self-medicated. It was a time, a season of pain. And that set us up to find Christ. Because the one qualification that you have to really find Jesus and have an intimate, loving relationship is a broken heart. And so if there's heartbreak in your story, I am so sorry. And yet it qualifies you. It qualifies you for something profound, something meaningful. And I'm just here to say, all these years, next year it will have been 50 years since I found Jesus as a teenager. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm in shock that God has been so good. And so there's joy and there's pain all mingled in our lives. But God gives us stories to give us hope. And I don't just mean our own stories. I mean biblical stories of people who've been through stuff and you kind of go, dang, wow. And we're going to read one of those dang stories right now. We're going to read the story of Hannah. It's found in 1 Samuel chapter 1. We're going to read the first 20 verses. And what I like to do is what I just call reading and riffing. Okay, we're just going to read, we're going to pause, I'm going to make some comment. Hopefully it's appropriate. Who knows what happens inside the beautiful mind. I have way more here than I will have time to share with you. So we'll just see what we explore together. But there is something in this for you, and we're just going to start with the observation that everybody has a story. And we'll take a look at Hannah's to get us started. All right. It says in 1 Samuel chapter 1, beginning at verse 1, and these are some hard verses, lots of tough names. There was a certain man from Ramathaim, a Zuphite, from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph. This is a lot more backstory than I'm kind of needing right now, but thank you. You know what you're doing. An Ephraimite. Now it gets juicy. He had 2 wives. One was called Hannah and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Let me pause there and just make some observations, okay? Everybody has a story, and every story takes place somewhere in time and space, right? For you to write a story or when you read a story, it takes place somewhere. It may be in a galaxy far, far away, right? Or once upon a time, but it has to happen somewhere. There's a time and a place, there's a setting. Hannah's story takes place in the days when the judges ruled, which if you know your Bible, you know was a time of chaos and anarchy. And everybody was doing what was right in their own eyes. This was after Moses and after Joshua, a 400-year period of the judges like Samson and whatnot. And that led to the period of the kings and King Saul and David. And so that's in this 400-year period, about 1,100 years maybe before the time of Jesus. And in this time of darkness, and let me tell you, even in Hannah's story, if you read beyond where we read today, you're going to go, wow, this was a mess. Yeah, it really was. And in that darkness shines a little bitty light named Hannah. We have this little story that reminds us that little people matter. Little people are big to God. Little people like me and like you. I'm little. I'm not. My mom used to say, Steve, you're not small, you're concentrated. Thanks, Mom. That was better than the other time when she said, Stephen, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, tall, dark, and handsome. She said, well, you're dark. This was getting too heavy. I had to drop a little levity in there. Everybody has a story, and if you don't laugh, you cry, right? So I just want to ask you, as you're thinking about some of this, where does your story start? Where did it take place? What was the time and place? Where was the town? What was the region? What was happening in the years, the decade when you were born that you were too small to be aware of? Well, what was happening in your area or in the country or in the world? Something was going on. It might have been in the days when the judges ruled. Samuel's going to come out of this story, the prophet Samuel. He don't know what's going on. He's going to learn fast enough, but you didn't know what was going on. You were placed there, right, in your story. I wonder where it was. And I want to say this too. When I say your story, I kind of mean your situation. Okay? If we're talking about what happened to you in the past, we're talking about your story. If we're talking about what's happening right now, we're talking about your situation, right? It has a setting and it has other characters, good guys, bad guys, time and place. In 10 years, you'll look back at this morning, at this day, as your story. It was your situation. So you're in your story right now. It's still unfolding. As long as there is air in your lungs, you're in your story. God is writing a story. And in some cases, he's put you in the place where you find yourself. Like if you're a kid, do you have any kids in the room? Like under 18, you're not legal yet? Anyone? No one? I know you're there. You're not used to raising your hands. Okay, you got somebody there. Yeah, you got a little one. Okay. No choice. Some things in your story happen to you. You're born into this family. They live the place. They move. We move. Okay? So you're in this story. Everybody has one, and you're not alone. Sometimes you're going to say, man, am I the only one who has a family like this? Am I the only one with these struggles and issues? Am I the only one who feels this way? And I'm here to just tell you, you're in a room full of people, but sometimes we're not aware that everybody carries a heavy load. Everybody has a story. We're moving too fast, and so I want to ask you to ponder what we here at Restoration Church call simple churches. Simple churches are like small groups, but they're better. There's more going on. But it's a place where people can be known, loved, and celebrated. Seen. And it's not just the Sunday morning. Sunday morning is awesome. Especially if you want to be a fly on the wall and just kind of, slip in and get a little something, slip out. Maybe you're, in a place like that's cool. But if you want to be more than a face in the crowd, consider a simple church, okay? Where we can be known, loved, and celebrated. I'm going to show you some people. I'm going to stand up and move over here, and we have some characters that I want to show you, and the quiz is going to be, what's her name and what's her movie? So what's her name? Dorothy. What's her movie? What's her problem? In the story, what's her problem? What's that again? She's missing Kansas. And there's a wicked witch. And there are flying monkeys. Okay, next character. Who's this? Alphaba. What's her movie? Wicked. What's her problem? She's misunderstood and she's green. Does she have an anger issue too? Like she has a little temper? I think at points maybe, right? Okay, who's next? Ooh, who's that? Movies? What's his problem? He has father issues. There's a disturbance in the force, right? And then he's got this other problem, which I also have, and it resides between his two ears, right? He's impetuous, right? I'm not afraid. You will be, okay? Luke has, I think, an illness that I too was diagnosed with when I was a boy. It's called TB. Tiny brain. I get in my own way. Anybody else? Am I alone? Anyone? Okay, next character. Who's this? Danielson. What movie? What's his problem? He's getting bullied. I was going to say he gets his butt kicked on a daily basis, but, I don't want to say any bad words. Okay, that's Daniel and Frodo. What's his movies? Stories? Lord of the Rings. Then what are his problems? He's got many problems. He got a jewelry issue, right? There's a ring. What else? What else? Oh, he wants to get out of the Shire. He got to go to Mordor, and he doesn't know the way. And then there are those ring wraiths, those horsemen, that later on appear in Elf in Central Park, if you remember. Okay. And then lastly, Katniss. And what are her movies? And what's her problem? She's hungry? No, that's not her problem. It's just an awful world that she lives in. And she loves her little sister, and she's in trouble. Okay. All that to illustrate our second point. That is, along with the fact that everybody has a story, every story has a problem. Every story has a problem. Every story has a struggle. It has a situation that's difficult, and Hannah's situation is really, really difficult. Let's read about it. It says, we are only at verse 2. Let's move. Year after year, this man, Elkanah, we're in verse 3, right? Went up from his town to worship and sacrifice to the Lord Almighty at Shiloh, where Hophni and Phinehas, the two sons of Eli, were priests of the Lord. Bad hombres, by the way. Bad hombres. Whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah, he gave a double portion because the Lord had closed her womb. Because the Lord had closed Hannah's womb, her rival kept provoking her in order to irritate her. This went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival provoked her till she wept and would not eat. Her husband Elkanah would say to her, Hannah, why are you weeping? Why don't you eat? Why are you downhearted? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons? Short answer, ladies? No. Actually, you don't. Right? By the way, I was talking with Holly Worley and remembering that her and Mike lead these marriage sessions in the fall. So if you have any Elkanah-esque vibe about you, you might want to sign up. Or even if you're an awesome couple, just go and let other people, behold your glory. Okay? Poor Hannah. What a story, right? Everybody has a story, and every story has a struggle. She has many problems, verse 1 of this passage. She lives in a place that's hard to pronounce the name of. And everybody around her, their names are hard to say. Okay, that's the first problem I observed. No children. And her husband has another woman that he's inviting into their tent. And Hannah's infertile. She wants to be a mom, and the Lord has closed her womb. And here comes Peninnah, who has a backstory too we don't know about, but it's there. I'm sure she's being used in some regard, right? As a surrogate. And she has a problem. Elkanah loves wife number 1 more than wife number 2, but wife number 2 has the kids. This is getting complicated, right? And Peninnah acts out. It says in one version, she taunts her cruelly. She taunts Hannah. Imagine your pain, and then you have somebody rubbing it in. And this went on, it says, year after year. And in Deuteronomy, we're taught that 3 times a year they would go up to the tabernacle. So imagine the associations you would have with church. Going to church is painful. Going to church, I'm reminded of what I don't have. And it says in another version, whenever she went into the sanctuary, she would be provoked and taunted and reduced to tears till she had no appetite. And again, don't miss the phrase in verse 5 and 6, the Lord had closed her womb. So it's not just I have health issues or fertility issues or personal struggles. It can feel the way it felt for Naomi in the book of Ruth, that the hand of the Almighty is against me. She said, he sent me away full and he's brought me back empty. Don't call me joy, call me bitter. The Lord has made my life very bitter. And you know what? In your story, when you're struggling, when you're suffering, there are going to be allies and adversaries. There will be friends and there will be villains. But it can be really painful when it feels like the hand of God is against you. And so I just kind of wonder, in your story, have there been moments in time? Are you possibly in one now where it just feels like, oh my gosh, I'm all alone, nobody gets it, and even God doesn't get it? Well, I have some good news for you and some hope. God absolutely gets it. I love this quote. This is one of my favorite quotes on writing, and it's the Hemingway quote. And Ernest Hemingway said, the writer's job is to tell the truth. Isn't that wonderful? Even when you're writing fiction, you're telling the truth. In fact, someone has said, if you want to tell the truth, write fiction. Because if you really name names and tell your story, you're going to get sued. You're not going to get invited back for Thanksgiving dinner. You better write some fiction stories that tell the truth. And Hemingway said the writer's job is to tell the truth. And the rest of the quote, I would stand and look out over the roofs of Paris and think, do not worry, you've always written before and you will write now. All you have to do is write one true sentence. Write the truest sentence that you know. So finally, I would write one true sentence and then go from there. It was easy then because there was always one true sentence that I knew or I had seen or had heard someone say. My pastor, when I was going off to college, knowing that I wanted to become a pastor one day, said, don't let school get in the way of your education. I love that. Don't let school get in the way of your education. What I said to young people going off to college is, you are going to learn so much in these next 4 years. Some of it will even happen in a classroom. But where do the big life lessons that really matter get learned? In life, right? They're rarely found in a textbook. They're found in a relationship. They're found in a broken heart. I love the place in Jack Nicholson's, his famous line, you can't handle the truth, right? To Tom Cruise in that. What was that movie? One more time? A Few Good Men, yes. A few good men. I'll get it right. Thanks, though. We often pray very lame prayers, very perfunctory rote prayers, or we don't pray at all. You know why? Because we don't think God can handle the truth. He's watching all of it. He knows what we think and feel. But we don't know that he knows until we somehow express it, till somehow we pause long enough to ponder our situation and what's happening around us and within us and express it in words. You can express it in the written word in a journal. I keep a journal in the Day One journal. I love that app. And even in my pastoral story, there's some pretty, let's just say, I hope nobody reads my journals, because I do name names there. But they'd have to use my fingerprint to like get into my iPad or whatever, and they'd have to take literally my cold dead finger. And I don't think they're going to think of that. So, but I'll be gone. So who cares, right? The journal keeper's job is to tell the truth. The friend's job is to tell the truth. To tell a friend how you really feel. What's really going on. How many times do we get together with a friend and we spend this time together and we leave and we talk about nothing? Nothing of substance. I want to encourage you, take your friendships to another level. If it's a friendship at all, talk about something that is hard to talk about. Talk about something you're not proud of. Talk about some negative emotions. We Christians don't like negative emotions, right? I don't like them. I just have them. And my good friends, by the way, one of my best friends, Mike Saris, is right here. Give it up for Mike. He's here supporting me today. Bro, we've been meeting together for like 30 years now. 97, 07, a long time. And we share personally. He knows what's going on inside my heart and mind and what I'm struggling with, vice versa. I mean, that's how our relationships could look. But so don't settle for a lame depth of relationship with your friends or your spouse. A spouse's job is to tell the truth. A parent's job is to tell the truth. But how can you tell the truth to your kids if you can't tell it to yourself? About how you really feel about what's really going on and how you feel about where God is in this whole mess. Every story has a struggle, and we need to tell our truth. We need to tell our truth to God in prayer and to one another in relationship. It's hard enough to suffer, but to suffer in silence. Bro, sister, don't settle for that. Don't suffer in silence. In a little while, we're going to have an opportunity for you to get the ball rolling, to reignite your relationship with God and your prayer life by praying some R-rated prayers. What did he say? I want you to pray some R-rated prayers. R for real. I want you to pray prayers about what you're not happy about your Hannah story, your situation, the idiots in your life, and how they're making you feel. And I want to encourage you, we're going to create a little space for you to bring that to the Lord in prayer. You won't have to speak verbally to anybody. And in fact, Hannah shows us how it's done. We're going to finish this passage very quickly. It says in verse 9, is that as far as we've gotten? Okay, here we go. Once when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. Now Eli the priest was sitting on his chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. In her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. She is doing business with God, friends. She's being real. Verse 11. And she made a vow, saying, Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head. He'll be like Samson. He'll be a Nazarite. He's dedicated to God. Those are real prayers. She's calling God by name. So here's a little bit of an outline for how to do it. Lord Almighty, and then she tells him how she feels and what she wants and what her commitment is. So those are some bullets for our real prayer. This is who you are, Jesus. You are the wonderful counselor. I need counsel right now. You are the Lord Almighty. I need a miracle right now. This is how I'm feeling, and this is what I'm asking for. And this is my commitment to you. It doesn't have to be a bargain, a vow, a negotiation. What really the Lord wants is you. He wants you to say, here I am. And in Matthew 11, Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, my load is light. Everybody has a story, and every story has a struggle, but every struggle is an invitation to stand. Invitation to stand. It's a call to action. It's a call to get serious, to get real, to tell him how you really feel, and to ask him for. The hardest thing for us to ask for is what we really want. Ask for what you really want. Is it a son? Is it a career? Is it love? Is it healing of some kind? Is it cash flow? Ask him for what you really want. And then it ends. Eli steps in. As she kept praying to the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was praying in her heart, and her lips were moving, but her voice was not heard. Eli thought she was drunk and said, how long are you going to stay drunk? Put away your wine. Friends, it can get worse before it gets better. Not so, my Lord, Hannah replied. I'm a woman who's deeply troubled. I am not drinking wine or beer. I was pouring my heart out to the soul and my soul to the Lord. Do not take your servant for a wicked woman. I've been praying here out of my great anguish and grief. And Eli answered, go in peace. My bad. May the God of Israel grant you what you've asked from him. She said, may your servant find favor in your eyes. And then she went her way and ate something, and her face was no longer downcast. And early the next morning they arose and worshiped the Lord, and then went back to their home at Ramah. Elkanah made love to his wife, Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, meaning because I asked the Lord of him. Well, we can unpack that. We don't have time. What I do want to say is that right now, I'd like to invite you just to bow your head with me and pause and ponder your situation. And we can have a little bit of a prayer time now. And there'll be a little music as you ponder where you are and what your situation is. And if it seems right to you, stand up where you are and ask the Lord for what it is that you want. Ask him for that miracle. Ask him for something you're not comfortable telling anybody else. You won't have to tell us. But just stand where you are, ponder, stand, and pray. Maybe today's the beginning of a breakthrough for you. You can just stand and you can just pray to him and sit right back down. You may not get what you need or want, or what you want, but don't let it be because you haven't asked. Lord, look at your people. Look at these broken hearts, Lord. Lord, they're getting specific with you. There might be a health thing, a financial thing, a relationship thing. Lord, would you give them a breakthrough? Maybe it's gone on year after year, Lord. Don't let them stay there. We want more. Hear our prayer. Say it now to him very, very clearly. This is who you are, and this is how I feel, and this is what I want, and this is my commitment. I'll give you my heart. I'll be your everyday disciple, which means I'll just try to be faithful every day. And whatever you want from me, wherever you want me to go, whenever you want me to do it, Lord, the answer is yes. Lord, I'm weary, I'm heavy laden, and I come to you. I come to your table this morning, And I thank you, Lord, that you're here to meet me with open arms. In the name of Jesus, amen.